So,
I like that.
all right, let's see who's in attendance. David Surratt, Roz. Okay, got
Okay,
two.
Rose needs to calm down. She's in
Haggerty.
twice.
And yeah, Matt Salem's the other person that wanted to speak. And there's Kyle and there's Christy Bates, who also wanted to speak at open forum. So
Okay, so Kyle, I will promote to a panelist because he should have been here, as I understand it. Is that right?
yes, that is
And
correct.
then there was someone from lacrosse. Um,
Gary?
yep.
Yep, he's here.
Okay, good.
Rose, Rose, you're logged in twice. She can't talk. I wonder which one is the one I'm supposed to promote.
50-50 chance.
No, I did both of them. Let's see what happens. Who else did you want? Sorry.
Uh,
Or will you
Matt
just enable
Salem.
them as you call on
I
them?
can. Yeah, I can do
Okay.
that. I just know Matthew is going to be Matt's going to be our first person. So if we want to just bring him in, that'd be fine.
Matt Salem.
Yes. Kyle, you good to go? You with us?
Yep, all set. Thanks, Chris.
Awesome. Thank you for joining. All right, Mike, I can probably take it from here if you want to promote me and take off.
Yep. Okay.
I am now the host. All right.
Okay, there you go. Yep.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right, it's 7:03. I'm going to call this meeting to order. My name's Chris Barrett. I'm the current chair of the Town of Westford Park and Recreation Commission. Our meeting this evening is being recorded. If you'd like to address the commission, please just use your raise your hand feature. And we have as our first agenda item this evening our open forum, which allows citizens to address the committee on items that had not been put on the agenda. These two folks that we have asked to address the commission on a couple different items. So they have a short time to speak and address the commission, and then we're going to roll into our rest of our agenda item. So first up is going to be Matt Salem. And let me see, Matt, you can talk, I think. Point. Yep.
Yes, thank
All
you.
right. Yep.
Good evening, Chris and members of the commission. My name is Matt Salem. I'm the Conservation Resource Planner for the town of Westford. As we are approaching the Community Preservation Committee's application deadline for FY24, in discussions with the Conservation Commission and kind of planning ahead, it was noted that the town of Westford's open space and recreation plan was last updated in 2018 and is approved through August of 2025. This is about approximately 6-month process, including public outreach, document updates, in addition to the figures that accompany the document. As the town is embarking on creating the town manager and the select board are embarking on creating a strategic plan for the town, leading into ultimately a master plan update. I thought it would be best to get rolling with this open space and recreation plan update so that when to have this approved at the state level for any of the other plans. Tonight, I'm requesting support from the commission to a letter of support for the application with which gets sent to the CPC committee, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions that anybody may have, and appreciate the time. I do think the Conservation Commission chair, Margaret Wheeler, is in attendance as well. I'm not sure if she has anything to add.
She is, and I've just allowed her to talk. So if she'd like to add anything, Margaret, you have that opportunity if you'd like.
Thank you, Chris. No, as a fairly recent chair to the commission, I just kind of like to be involved in the process. Go with Matt when he meets with different bodies in town, just so that I kind of get more informed on the process.
Great. Well, thank you for joining. So Park and Rec Commission, any questions for Matt on this request? I will say this is something that the commission has supported in the past, the last open space and recreation plan, I believe we did endorse, and you know, I don't personally see any issue with doing it again.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this process, the request for funds would be to hire a consultant to handle, you know, most of the heavy lifting, you know, with town staff capacities being reached. You know, we want to make sure we're still eligible for the, you know, the state level grants, whether it's through the Department of Conservation or Recreation or through DEP. So having this updated is important to stay eligible for those types of opportunities.
Great.
Hey, Chris, it's Mike. Is this something we should, as a commission, review? I wasn't around on the commission in 2018, so I don't know if it's kind of thing we just kind of rubber stamp as a rule, or is it something we review?
I don't think I wouldn't use the term rubber stamp, but I think generally speaking, you know, I don't think, Matt, it wasn't you at the time. I think it was Carol Gumbart at the time that did the last one, right?
Right. And so this predates my time with the town. And at that time, I think Carol and town staff were the ones to update it. I know there were some corrections or areas with which needed addressing because of it. So this isn't to support the open space, you know, the open space and rec plan hasn't been updated yet. This is to, you know, asking the commission's support to prepare and submit an application for to use CPA funds to have a new one prepared and updated. And with the consultant that is ultimately hired, you know, I'm sure there would be, you know, a public, not a public hearing, but a public session for, you know, listening session to get input from, you know, the various boards and committees in town, in addition to the residents at large.
Right. Right. So Mike, to your point, you know, generally the commission has supported this in the past because it does provide the opportunity for grants if there are some out there. My recollection is this is more geared toward open space per se than necessarily pure recreation, but you know, recreation and open space kind of go hand in hand to some degree. And you know, with my time being involved with Park and Rec, this would be the third one that I've seen. This would be the third one. So I've sat through or been, you know, on this commission, and we've had two others that have come through while I've been here. So this would be something that, you know, puts, I think, the town in a good position to, you know, say receive potential grant money in the future if we, you know, support this and they get the funding from the CPA and they, you know, complete the process of
So basically, we're just supporting the notion of creating another updated plan for the future, and no really specific details of any kind at this point.
Yeah. So what will happen is, you know, if we as a committee, you know, support this, we'll draft a letter of support that will go into Matt's CPC application. And, you know, on that application, they look for boards and committees that are supporting the request. So we'll be checked off of one of those. Our letter of support will go in, and you obviously, as the Park and Recreation Commission representative to the OCPC, will be able to, you know, review and vote on it accordingly.
Okay, thanks, Chris. Thanks, Matt.
Any other questions from the commission? Okay. We probably should have a vote on this. So if somebody would like to make a motion in support of Matt's request, I'll be happy to take that.
I'll make a motion to support Matt's request.
Great. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All right. Any discussion on the motion? All right, seeing none, I'm gonna do a roll call since we're virtual. Kathleen,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Lauren,
Aye.
Michael,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. Did I get everybody? Think so. All right, so that motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Matt, and good luck with the rest of that initiative, and I hope it goes through to CPC and on to town meeting.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the commission.
All right, well, I did have one other resident who wished to address the committee under open forum. So that's Christy Bates. I'm gonna promote her and allow her to talk at this point. So Christy, you should be able to address the commission at this point.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, this is Christy Bates, Pierce Ave. Chris, thanks for having me, for letting me speak. I just very quickly want to let everyone know, if they don't already, that there is an override campaign committee that's just started to gather. They've had a couple meetings. As we know, the balancing the budget without an override will have an impact on the town, and will have a direct impact on our Parks and Recreation Department. So I just wanted to share, if anyone on the commission or anyone else is interested. The co-chair of the committee is Nate McKinnon. And if anyone is interested, they can reach out to him. I was going to put the information in the chat, but the chat is closed. So I'll forward it along to Chris and he can share it with you if you're interested. There'll be a website up by the end of the week with some more information too, that we can pass that along. That's it.
Great. Thank you for sharing, Christy. Commissioners, any questions for Christy? Awesome. We're going to do a brief review of the budgetary impacts to the various departments under the director's updates sections of the meeting. So if you're not familiar with some of the details, that we'll hopefully hit them there. And anybody who's on the call wants to weigh in at that point, that would be great. Happy to hear from anybody else who's on the call. And Chrissy, looking forward to getting that information. I will pass that along to the commissioners.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay, we're going to move on to our 7:05 agenda item, which is yet another review of the American Legion Fields redesign project update. I know you all are probably getting tired at this point of seeing this project coming before you. Our last iteration of this was I think it was pre CPC needs assessment hearing. We did go and present the project, Steve Cronin and I, to the Community Preservation Committee. There were some concerns noted about the cost of the project. We had then taken that feedback back to the development team of Weston and Sampson and asked them to take another hard look at what we could do to bring the costs down. In your packet, we did provide the latest estimate of, or I guess they call it an opinion of probable costs. And you will note that the total has dropped to, I think, $5.2 million, which is still a lot of money, but better than when we were before. We've also structured the project with a lot of add alternates. These are opportunities for us to add additional amenities or aspects of the project as things move forward. What tends to happen is as we go through the rest of the design process, some of these numbers that we have are going to tighten up a little bit, hopefully leaving us with some additional space in the budget to add some of these other items that we feel would be important, but maybe aren't critical at this point to the project. As part of the overall process of moving forward, we will need to expend additional money for design work, and we're budgeting around $600,000 to $700,000 for that. So our total ask still of CPC will be right around the 6 million mark, with the hope that we don't spend that much as we move forward. Let me see if I can share my screen and bring up the latest design here. Can people see my screen okay?
Yep.
Okay. Couple of the different design elements that have changed since I think the last iteration was we had previously had a traffic flow that sort of circulated traffic back to the main parking areas, and then also circulated behind G4 with an emergency access corridor that came off onto River Street down to this area. It turned out that the roadway that we were proposing to bring to the back or the top of G4 was not practical given the amount of slope that we have to deal with back here. So that was one of the reasons for the change. Then as part of discussions about how we would keep pedestrian and vehicle or access, improvements on the table, we looked at keeping the widening of the central corridor to 24 feet, which would require will require moving G3 south. And that was originally going to be bundled with moving G1 and G2. We since pushed back on that because that was going to get too costly. So we're just going to be shifting G3 south. We're adding this parking area. This is going to hopefully address the loss of parking that we had along the basketball area, as well as some of the parking that we had by the batting cages, and provide more accessible parking for these lower fields rather than having people park along the roadway or over here and have to walk all the way over. There is ample improvement to the walking corridors, so stone dust pathways now instead of just grass, which will hopefully help with accessibility. Many more handicap accessible parking spots, raised pedestrian crossings and speed control bumps, so that will hopefully counter some of the potential increased speeds that we might see by making this travel corridor a little bit wider. We want to make sure that the sidewalk is there so that we have pedestrian access, but also that these raised pedestrian crossings will help control the vehicle speeds. Now, as far as additional amenities, we had looked at providing lighting for these 3 fields per the primary user of this facility, which is Westford Youth Baseball and Softball. That was ultimately too costly, so we've settled on lighting G5, which is a primary baseball field for the complex, and G7, which is the primary softball field for the complex. G4 is also lit and will remain as is. We won't be making any improvements there. So this positions us with much more formalized parking. In here, this will be paved with much better accessibility for the cars. So we feel that that's going to be a huge improvement. And this will position ourselves with the ability to open up this second area, the phase 2 area, in the future. Of course, we have no way of knowing when that might happen, but we want to make sure that we're, setting ourselves up for success there in the future. Any questions with where the project is at this point?
Chris, it's not directly about the project. You said this was included in our packet. I don't remember seeing this. All I remember seeing is the current agenda and October's minutes.
This was sent out by me, I think 2 days prior to that email that you got from Michelle.
Okay, I don't think I saw that.
Okay.
I don't think I received that.
Any other questions? All right, I have a question from the audience. Sherry, I'm going to allow you to talk and address the commission. Go ahead. We should be able to hear you now.
Hi, Sherry Hashi from River Street. My question is, what happened to the playground that was at the ball field that was put in?
Yep, the playground is still there. We're not really touching that, with the exception of this potential trail that is going to cut across. It's kind of there already today, but I think this is going to be an attempt to maybe formalize this and hook it into the stone dust pavement along the G3 corridor here, so that folks who are parking here can hop across the pedestrian crossing and then hook into this walkway. Or if they're coming this way, they can walk through and get into the parking area. I mean, sorry, into the playground here, but we're not touching the playground other than that.
Okay, thank you.
Very welcome. All right. Any other questions from the commission, or residents?
Chris, I've got one for you. You had mentioned that after presenting, they had thought that there was a cost concern and it was sent back. At this $6 million figure, are we kind of closer to what the commission was hoping for, or are we still is there still a concern here?
I believe there will still be a concern. This is a big ask, and there were a number of projects that came forward this year. So we, of course, went with this project, as well as the refurbishment of the tennis courts at Rodenbush. And then there's another sizable project, which is the Stony Brook track and courts rehabilitation project. So that was coming in at a little over 2 million, plus this at 6. And so, it is a lot of money. And I can see where the commission is concerned. However, we have talked with the director of finance several times as we've gone through this journey to make sure that the community preservation funds are available to cover this if it was moved forward to town meeting for a vote. So again, it does represent a fair bit of money, but we do have funding for it in the CPA coffers, and we hope that the committee will decide to move this forward to town meeting for a vote. Does that help with your question, Brock?
Yeah, definitely. When's that vote supposed to happen?
Yeah, so the way the process works is we've had this needs assessment hearing that the Community Preservation Committee holds every year. And that's just a precursor to the start of their process. It's just to kind of give them a heads up of, what are the projects that people may have interest in bringing forward to them for review. January 12th is the deadline for CPC applications. So Kyle will be submitting an application to the CPC for this project. At that point, the Community Preservation Committee holds a number of meetings to review the projects, talk again with the applicants, and then they will hold a vote to determine whether or not the projects should be moved forward to the town meeting warrant. And then, of course, we will hopefully in March get an opportunity to vote on them.
Thanks, Chris.
And yeah, so and Michael is our representative to that committee, which is great. So he can help fill us in as the process progresses. I have Anne, you have your hand up. I've unmuted you. Feel free to address the commission. You're on mute still, Anne, if you're.
How's that?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, great. This is Ann Holmes, and my family lives on River Street. I can see that the tennis courts, the basketball courts are being moved and updated, which is great. I remember on the original plan, there were quite a bit of pickleball courts. Is that no longer on this phase 1?
It is. Yeah, the pickleball courts are down here. I don't know if you can see my cursor. We are going to stripe this as we have been striping most of our tennis courts so that you can play pickleball. So there'll be the ability to have 2 pickleball courts on here. But the more formalized, 6-court option will be in the phase 2 project, part of the project.
Okay. I think my family's happy to see it way in the back. I know there are some complaints of noise when people are playing pickleball quite a bit. So maybe the further back, the better.
Absolutely.
So I actually like that there rather than right behind a lot of the houses right on river.
Yep.
So that's good. Excellent. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. Kyle, anything that you want to add at this point? Did I cover everything? Did I miss anything?
No, I think you gave a great recap, Chris. I guess the one thing that I want to emphasize is we're hoping, meaning Public Works and Weston and Sampson, for a decision to move forward or not move forward with this site plan by vote at tonight's meeting. By voting this as the preferred site plan, it'll allow Weston and Sampson to continue on with the design process, most notably getting the scheduling the test pits for the subsurface drainage stuff and doing some geotechnical borings to get some more subsurface soil information so that they can, like I say, continue with the design and continue to refine the cost to a more or a cost with less contingency built in.
Right. Thank you, Kyle. And just for the commission's edification, we're at what level of cost or design completion now, and where do we go with the next expenditure? If you could help me remember that, I've forgotten the percentages.
Sure. Yes, we're at about a 15% design, which is really more conceptual. The next phase would be about a 75% design, and that's where they'll really get into some of the nitty gritty of the elements and really start to put together some of the construction details and in a more complete plan set for review. And then the final stage would be the 100% plans or the design construction plans. That would be the final step.
Thank you, Kyle. Okay. I don't see any other questions. Oh, no. Excuse me. Just saw a hand up real quick. Excuse me. All right. As Kyle pointed out, we do need a motion in order to kind of move this project forward. Oh, now I see the hand. All right, we got Ann again. Hang on 1 second before we take that. All right, Ann, you are able to address the commission. Go ahead.
Yeah, my apologies. I had one more question. As part of this process, are you also addressing traffic concerns, and are they included, or is there a conversation about how you intend to address that even with this smaller plan?
Yeah, that's a great question. As you know, when we had originally discussed or reviewed this project with the neighbors, we did hear from you all quite clearly that there were concerns about traffic on River Street. So one of the things that we were asked to do, and what we did do, was expend money to conduct a traffic study, in which we do have the results of which and we'd be happy to share them with you. One of the things that we hope with this particular project is by widening and increasing the width of this opening and the resulting corridor here, that the backup of cars that we typically see occurring on River Street during game days would be hopefully eliminated, if not greatly diminished. In terms of addressing the speed of travel on River Street, there's not a ton that we can do within the scope of this project. The road is, signed appropriately for the speed. It becomes really a matter of enforcement when we feel that there is traffic exceeding that speed limit, which is a common problem throughout Westford, not just with River Street. So, as far as speed control measures that some people had mentioned in previous conversations, I don't think that that's within the scope here. And unfortunately not even really appropriate for this roadway, given, the way it's designed and the way that the speed limits are currently set up on it. So hopefully that helps address some of the concerns that the neighbors had. And we would have to work with the Westford Police Department to address concerns with, people driving with excessive speeds, and see through their enforcement processes if they could try to address those issues. Does that help, Ann, or do you have any other
Well,
questions?
I don't know that anyone would be satisfied. I think the issue here is sort of like being at Westford Academy in the morning, which a lot of us who drop off our kids are.
Yep.
The reason why this will be a concern is that whether you have a practice or a game, everyone has to get somewhere by a certain time.
Yep.
And because of that, people are late, so they come flying down river or upriver to get there on time. And if it weren't for that, obviously people wouldn't speed, we know everyone speeds around town, but sending thousands of people here and everyone having to be there by a certain time, we all know what'll happen. So I don't know that answer addressed it. And I have a feeling that local people who would want to approve that, I guess I would just say that maybe without something stronger, there might be some that may not be too happy with this if the speed can't be addressed more than, hey, that's a police issue. That's just my opinion, and I think the opinion of my family.
No, it's a great call out, and I appreciate the concerns. I happen to have been the chair of the pedestrian safety committee for many years, so I know the town's challenges when it comes to speed control on our roadways, and I hate having to say there's not much we can do. It really bothers me, and I the challenges that we face, and Kyle, you can keep me honest here, is we have very limited tools with which to address speeds. And one of which that we have adopted as a town is Mass General Law 17C, which does allow municipalities to lower the speed limit on thickly settled roads. We just recently have done that for 2 roads in town. So that's something that may be able to be done here. There's a process I think we would need to go through in order to get that done. And it's, I think, a little early to say, even if we did lower the speed limit, if that would have a measurable impact. Other options such as vertical speed control, which at a 30-mile-an-hour road is tough to enact. If it was 25-mile-an-hour, there's some more options there. We have not been able to get any of those options enacted here in Westford. So that's not to say it couldn't be done in the future, but it's not something that we as a community have been able to do. I would suggest that one other avenue we could possibly look at here is talking with pedestrian safety and seeing if we could make a case with that committee, if they could support and potentially bring forward to the select board a recommendation to enact 17C on this road and potentially lower speed limit to 25 miles an hour.
Chris, could go along with what you just said, how in the school zones they have reduced speeds to 20 miles an hour with the flashing lights because of the recreation facility there. Can that be also applied for a recreation facility for maybe not the whole street have the speed limit change, but a zoning area, so many feet on either side?
Yep, Michael, that's a great call out. So Mass General 18B allows for us for special speed zones, and recreation amenities is an allowable use. So that would allow us to, I think it brings it down to 20 miles an hour in those circumstances. So there is an opportunity there. That's not something we have done yet here in Westford, but it is an option, if the town leadership agrees to move forward with it.
Would that be something that a resident like Ann would kick that off with the town, or is it something we do, or how does that get started? Or does it go through Kyle? Or?
I would say the first part of the process would be to go to pedestrian safety. They're the committee that's most knowledgeable and involved with that particular aspect, and then they would work with Westford Police Department, DPW, engineering, and ultimately decide whether or not this is something that they can support bringing forward to the select board. And then the select board has the authority to enact 17C. 18B is a little bit more challenging. There might be a little bit more legwork that gets involved with that, since we have not done that here as a community. It might involve an engineering study, which would be, something that we would have to hire outside engineers to conduct. It wasn't covered as part of the traffic survey that we did here as part of this project. So it's a separate engineering effort. And then, once that was done and that report was finalized, we could move forward with 18B.
So I might, as a suggestion to Ann or her and the neighbors, to maybe start with the pedestrian safety committee and see if they can get the ball rolling on something like that to help mitigate the speed.
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion. And any other questions or feedback?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate it. Sherry, you have your hand up. I'm going to unmute you. So go ahead. You can address the community. You're on mute, Sherry. You're
Sorry
on-
about that. Since I run a licensed childcare program on the street, could I get the streets zones as a school zone?
Kyle, I'll throw that one at you. I think the answer is no, but do you happen to know off the top of your head?
Yeah, the answer to that is no.
I figured it was worth a shot.
Hey, why not? Any other questions, Sherry?
Nope, that'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Any other questions from residents, commissioners? All right. So going back to Kyle's point, we would like a motion so that we can provide direction to Weston and Sampson to continue moving forward. Is there anybody on the commission that would be willing to make such a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Brock.
So I'll make the motion to recommend the current project plan here for the American Legion Fields Reed's design project to move forward.
Do I have a second to that motion?
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Mike.
Can
All
you
right.
just read that one more time? So actually, you know what? You don't have to, because
Being recorded.
it's being recorded. Goodbye.
saved.
See you later.
All right. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All right. Hearing none, I'm going to call for the vote. Brock,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Lauren,
Aye.
Kathleen,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. I think I got everybody, right? All right, perfect. Okay, thank you very much for your continued support. As I mentioned, we will bring this forward to the Community Preservation Committee, and we'll keep you informed, either myself or Mike, on how it goes as we move forward. All right. Let me just check my agenda. Our next item is Parks and Grounds reports and updates from our DPW director. And as many of you probably are aware, Steve is no longer with us. He's moved on to another position, I think, in New Hampshire. So we're very blessed to have Kyle step into the breach and hold things together. So Kyle, take it away. Maybe you could hit the budget discussion briefly if it's part of your updates, and anything else you want to go over.
Sure. Thank you, Chris. Good evening. Yeah, I can start with the budget update if you'd like. So as I think everybody's aware, there's two budgets being proposed by departments to the select board at this point. As far as the Parks and Grounds maintenance side of the budget goes, the regular budget with an override, what we're proposing is a personnel services would increase by about 2.67%, or about $12,000 to meet current union contract adjustments. We proposed a decrease in expenses by about a little over 7%, or almost $4,000 to reflect recent spending trends, with an overall budget increase of about 1.59% in the Parks and Grounds maintenance budget. Without the Prop 2.5 override, three additional cuts would be proposed. We would cut an additional 7,280 in seasonal staff, Those are that's summer help, which helps us with maintaining the grounds, doing a lot of string trimming, mowing, frees up our professional staff to do the more skilled tasks and allows us to increase our level of service from what we're used to. This summer was a great example with all the rain and the grass growth, of course. We spent the bulk of our time mowing. We weren't able to hire any summer help this year, and the facilities really it was noticeable that we didn't have that time to do the extra work that we like to get done to improve the facilities. The second area of cut, we're proposing $4,000 cut to grounds maintenance. And what that would mean is we'd have to make some sort of cut to either fertilization, overseeding, some kind of athletic field treatment. And then finally, an $1,100 cut, $1,200 to $100 for meetings and conferences. That was a desire of the budget task force to reduce those line items kind of across the board in all the budgets. Any questions on the budget report?
I had a quick question, Kyle. So with the reduction in treatment to the athletic fields, what's the long-term risk, if any, of that less fertilization, watering, whatever? Are we going to see those fields suffer long-term as a result, or will they bounce back in better?
I think in one season it would probably be okay unless we get severe weather one way or the other. If it was a prolonged cut, then certainly we would experience some issues with the fields, particularly our higher use fields, where the turf gets a little more stressed from all of the athletes' use. So short term, it probably wouldn't be that noticeable. Long term, it certainly would.
And just a quick follow-up, the trash service that we provide at our athletic facilities, was that something that would stay in place, or would we see that get removed or reduced?
That's proposed to remain in place at this point. It would be part of the new recycling and trash contract.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments on that, folks? Okay. Anything else,
Okay.
Kyle? Nope. Christy
Yeah, if
Bates.
you'd like,
Sorry.
I can.
Sorry,
give
one
a-
second there. Sorry, Kyle, we did have a question here from Christy, if you don't mind. Okay, go ahead, Christy.
Hi, thanks. I just want to verify, because I think maybe early on in the budget, it was, if the override wasn't passed, it was stated that one of the 2 full-time positions on recreation was going to be cut. Did that change?
I guess I'm not familiar with what you're referencing.
Chris or Michelle, are you?
So Christy, so with the recreation piece, so when I know when Jim Dwayne left, we know that there was an opportunity to take Parks and Grounds and put that up at DPW, and then recreation stands solo on their own. And with that, there was that 630 budget. Maybe that's where you're getting not directed. This question's probably more directed towards me than Kyle, but
Yeah.
Right now the recreation enterprise budget, and we were going to get into my updates and the effects of the override. I mean, I guess I can say it now. There was nowhere in my budget that 2 full-time positions were going to be cut. That was not something that I was made aware of, at least. So I'm not sure if that was early on, Christy, where they had mentioned it.
Sure. Yep. Don't forget it then. Don't want to spread rumors. Michelle, I thought you and I had an email about this, so never mind.
Yeah, I don't think it was that drastic. how's that?
Great.
That's probably
you.
a good term.
Thank you so much.
Don't you worry, Christy. I'm not going anywhere. No, I'm kidding. But
Just
no,
looking out for Parks and
I
Recreation,
think,
that's
and,
all.
and you know how much I appreciate that. I think earlier on in conversations, we were maybe not led to believe, but you know, I think there were definitely swirling conversations, but after speaking with Dan, and I'm trying to still wrap my, you know, me and budgets, I'm still trying to wrap my head around certain things as well. But I've had some conversations with Dan O'Donnell, who has been so great in explaining things to me, and that was definitely not one of them. Although there is a cut in the line item of rec supervisor staff,
Right.
other rec staff. So I can circle back around when Kyle's done, if that's okay. I don't want to. Do you want to finish up, Kyle, and then I can kind of spin off on what Christie's maybe asking?
Whichever direction the commission prefers.
I guess, you know, since we're on budget, why don't we just stay with budget, and Michelle, go ahead and let us have your update on that
Yeah,
item.
hi everyone, it's nice to see everyone. Happy New Year. So I took my current budget now, and just to give a quick overview, you know, we're right on track, having spent 50% of our expense budget, and bringing in 83% of our projected revenue budget. So in general, right now, the recreation enterprise budget is looking good. We're trending in a good spot. The programs are good. After school programming is doing well. We always slow down a little bit with our other programs in the winter, but FY24 wise, we're looking like we're in good shape. As far as the override and how it will affect recreation, there is a deduction in the other rec staff line of $15,000, which, you know, could be a challenge when trying to hire one of my more expensive staff, a site leader per se, that kind of helps me with the licensing. You know, we hit a certain number and then I need to have that extra adult staff. So that's where it could be challenging. Another example, you know, the 15,000 is almost what it cost me to run my beaches this summer. So, you know, instead of taking away from a program that, you know, brings in revenue, maybe have to look at something like operate beach operations. So those are kind of a couple ways, but based on the past 2 years of spending, Dan and I both agree that, you know, we still should actually be okay. So that's where we're at as far as the enterprise budget is concerned, and how the override will affect that enterprise budget.
Great. Any questions from commissioners or the audience on that update? I did have a question for you, Michelle. So if we needed to make up that money, what's your feeling on covering that by increasing the rates of the after school program? Do you think that
Chris, you know what, honestly, each year we try to look at that and we go up a little bit. Nothing that is a sticker shock to our participants and families, but overall, I think we should be able to increase our WPC after school tuitions next year, go up in our slightly go up in our summer programming, you know, go up in some of our field trip and vacation week costs, but at the same time, you know, be cognizant and staying within the you know, within our competition. You know, we obviously we live in a building that runs some of the same programs, and then the other competitors in town that people can leave us and go to them. So we want to make sure that we're in line with, you know, competitive pricing, and you know, try to remain affordable too, but price increases is always in the back of my mind. And I am also I'm very good at watching my spending with staff. You know, I don't overstaff, but my staffing, you know, requires more safety and how I feel my comfort level there. And like I said, the last couple of years we've underspent there. So I think we're still looking okay.
Okay, great. Any other updates for the commission? Michelle?
No, we're all trying to stay healthy, you know, we're face to face with thousands of germs a day. So we're building our immune system one kindergartner at a time. But we're doing okay. We had a small program over the vacation week. It was small, but I think people were very happy that we offered something. We made our program space a little bit more welcoming to having the children there, so that was fun. The schools let us use the gym, which was great to be able to walk down there. So yeah, we're already kind of planning for summer, believe it or not. So yeah, my one last thing, I'm in the process of doing all of this, but moving staff around to replace Pam's position. I know that was vacant, but trying to move an existing staff member into that position, which will also take on some site director roles as well. So a dual role in that position has also kind of helped with the budget process and, you know, not taking such a hard hit with no override in that case. So it's all good. We're moving right along.
So just another question. So how can actually reducing the recreation enterprise funding for staff help with the budget? Is it because then it would reduce the subsidy from the general
Yes.
fund? Is that the idea?
That's exactly it.
Okay. Just want to make sure people were aware.
Yes, in fact, when I actually wanted to talk to Dan about this, and that's exactly what he said, and I want to just read it just to make it clear. But hold on, I just gotta find it. Where is it? Of course. All right, now I can't find it. Anyway, you're exactly right. That's exactly what yes, that's it.
Okay.
Chris, I thought I had something written down somewhere, but can't find it and don't want to waste anyone's time looking for it, but that's exactly it.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess if there's no other updates from you, Michelle, we'll swing back to Kyle. And Kyle, any other
Yeah.
updates that you wanted to go over?
Yeah, sure. There's a few, Chris. First, regarding the Jack Walsh Athletic Complex, the court renovation project, we did get a written agreement from the low bid contractor for the project that they would hold their pricing through March annual town meeting to allow the town meeting the opportunity to approve the extra funds to afford the project. So that's really good news that they're holding their pricing. The only thing that may occur, they had intended to get started over the winter, early spring on the project. And of course, not knowing whether the town will approve the extra funds or not, they are bidding other projects as a contingency for themselves. If they do get extra work and Westford does approve the project, there may be a delay in starting, but the project would still be complete sometime in 2024. So that's good news all around. The most visual project we had going on this fall was at the VFW Forge Fields. Anyone who's driven by there has probably seen the new dugouts going up. That's been a combined effort from our own staff and students and teachers at Neshoba Tech. Our staff put in the concrete slabs and the footings for the structures this fall. And those are complete on all 4 setups. The kids have now constructed 3 of the 4 dugouts, and we're waiting to hear whether they're going to tackle the 4th one in the snow or if they're going to wait till the spring. But I don't know if anyone has got out to look at them. They look great. They're super well built, and they're going to serve the town for a long time. The one thing we'll have to look at this spring as we wrap up the project is whether we have enough money to do everything we want out of the project. And the 2 things that are going to compete for the last dollars we have remaining in budget are the actual benches for the dugouts and fencing for the softball field dugouts. You'll recall the softball field just had temporary fencing, so we need to find a more permanent solution. And I'm still waiting for invoices to come in to finalize the numbers of where we are at this point, but it's certainly looking like it's going to be a tough thing to afford, and we'll have to find some other way to make that happen. So stay tuned on that.
I assume in the interim, we could still rely on the temporary fencing we have.
Yeah, we sure could. Yeah.
Okay. It's
And
kind of a shame,
I've
right? Because
advised
we
you, they
have such
look great.
beautiful dugouts there to then have temporary fencing, but it's
right.
we have to have something, so it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And on the
Mike.
baseball side, we were able to utilize the existing fencing.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, they look really good, Kyle.
Thanks. Yeah, it's been fun watching the kids learn and figure it out. And man, they're doing a lot of really great work.
So just as a practical matter, from your perspective, this partnership that we've done with Neshoba Regional Tech has been beneficial, both from time and materials, budget aspect, from all, do you have any negative issues or concerns with how that worked out in practicality?
I think the only negative, if you were to try and find one, would be the duration of the project. They because of so they have juniors and seniors working on the project, and the seniors have a commitment every other week. So we only get the students every other week, which is why it's kind of taken as long as it has. But short of that, the value we're getting is tremendous. The estimated cost to have a contractor build these was about $55,000, and we're getting them for about $30,000. So that's a gigantic savings. And as Mike confirmed, the quality is terrific, and we're definitely looking for other opportunities to use the Neshoba Tech to help us in various areas.
Okay, great. I'm glad that partnership got established. It took a little bit of time to even get that going, but hopefully we can maintain that relationship and leverage it to the benefit of both Neshoba Regional Tech and the greater Westford community. So that's cool. Glad to hear that.
That's great.
My recollection though, Kyle, was that I thought we had $50,000+ allocated to this budget between two requests, right? Because I think we went forward with a request for replacing the baseball fields, and then we came back with a second request to get funding to build dugouts for the softball field. And so if we're coming in at 30,000 or so for the project, wouldn't that leave us enough for benches? Or are you not counting in that, like the concrete, work?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So that 30,000 versus 55,000, that's just the superstructure.
Okay.
The subsurface work, the stone dust, everything else that we've put into the project is outside of that.
Okay. All right. It's amazing how much stuff costs.
It is.
Yeah.
And I can at the end of the project, I can certainly provide a complete accounting
Sure.
of the work.
Okay.
Any chance that the users of the fields, softball and Little League, could contribute for the benches at least, possibly? Or is that too much to ask of them?
Well, so we have a couple different user groups for these different facilities. So you have the men's softball program. You have the Westford youth baseball and softball uses both the baseball and softball. The schools use the baseball diamond. None of these groups obviously are flush with money. Maybe the Westford over 30 softball league could pony up something there. And we've been working with the Westford Youth Softball and Baseball Association for them to take on one of the ad alternates that are part of the American Legion Field project to show that they've put some skin in the game there. And those are a few $100,000 ad alternates. So for example, a good candidate may be the maintenance building, the equipment building that's at the front half of the facility, that they would rehab that. And that's a $200,000+ cost item there. So I'm not sure if they're going to have additional monies left over for that, but we can certainly talk to them about that. Maybe there's a special fundraiser that they could spearhead as part of whatever money we need to make the difference for the benches, or something like that. To that, maybe we can get some donors from those groups. If they don't have the funds themselves, they can run a donation campaign or something like that. So
Okay.
something to look into. But let's get the project almost done, get to see how much of a gap we are, and go from there.
Yep.
So-
Then just continuing with updates, kind of what the crew has been up to since the October 2nd meeting. Of late, of course, they've been involved in a lot of snow and ice related duties, staking out their plow routes, marking their, sanding routes and everything, getting the equipment up and running. Our 2 senior parks employees lead our entire group in calibrating our trucks for the salt application each year. They've been assisting the highway department with some of the emergency culvert and road repair projects we've had going on since the September 11th storm. They cleaned out the planting beds around town and mulching using stockpile of recycled wood chips that we get from our own shipping of branches and tree debris. They repaired the storm damaged basketball backboard at American Legion Field. That was damaged when that big tree fell during the September 11th storm. They did all the fall cleanups and pruned the perennials, removed some more fallen trees at the Bruce Freeman Rail Trail, pruned the vegetation out there, rented a man lift to string the holiday lights and on the town common, and set up and took down the menorah that was out there and looking great. We did do modifying the dugout fencing at the baseball field at VFW, which I just mentioned, and got the baseball field basically ready to go for opening day. Stored, loaded up, and delivered all the construction supplies to Neshoba. The way we've been running the project, we didn't want to just leave the lumber out on site because we were afraid it would walk away. So we dedicated one of our trailers to put all the lumber on. And each morning we drive it out. Each afternoon we drive it back to the shop. And then finally, just repairing and maintaining all of our summer equipment as we have some downtime in between storms. So that's what they've been busy doing.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Kyle, for the update. Any other questions for Kyle? All right. Gonna move on to old new business. Under this item, I'd like to talk about the Nutting Roads field. I'm gonna share my screen here. So this was in our last meeting, we talked about, or we have talked about in the past, the Nutting Road fields. Those are turf fields and the fact that they are going to need to be replaced. Steve at the time had indicated he was getting some quotes. This is one of the quotes that we received. So you can see it's a fairly sizable line item here. And you know, we obviously don't have that money just laying around. So this might be another situation where we are even going back to community preservation, which I'm not sure if they can fund this. I know they can no longer fund artificial turf fields, so I don't know if they could fund the replacement of an artificial turf field. That's probably something that we would have to get some legal opinion on. But this is going to be a challenge for the budget in the future to absorb. Kyle, I don't know if you had many conversations with this folks, the folks that did this quote, or talked with Steve. Uh, what I don't remember is just how much usable life we have on the existing field, and when we need to actually get to this. Do you recall off the top of your head? I don't
Yeah,
think.
so we did have a site visit with the gentleman who came out to kind of talk about our current field and what was possible for the future field. And I think he said, we're kind of nearing the end of service life, but based on what he saw, there's certainly some holes and some wear marks, particularly at center court or center field. But he thought 3 to 5 years is kind of the time frame we're looking at before we absolutely need to replace it.
Okay, well, that's better than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be a year or two, but 3 to 5 is better. Of course, this will then probably grow to 1.4 in that time frame at the rate of some of these prices have been going up. But as far as you're aware, there's no safety issues or usability issues, other than the bare spots that you mentioned. The fields are safe for the next few years.
Yes.
Okay. So commissioners, just want to make sure that you're aware of this, another big line item that we have in the future to try to find funding for. Michelle, I know you had mentioned that you had reached out to Westford Lacrosse. I had reached out to the Westford Youth Soccer, both of whom are the two primary user groups of this facility. Were you able to make contact, Michelle, with Lacrosse? The soccer folks, I don't think were able to make it this evening. You're on mute, Michelle, I think.
I believe, is Gary on here?
See, can't share and look at the attendee. Yeah, there is a Gary Hennessy.
Yep, he was gonna, he's on listening in for lacrosse.
Yes, I am here.
Oh,
Hi,
look at
Gary.
that.
Thank you very much for joining us on short notice. I know we had mentioned having this in previous meetings, but those got canceled, and I appreciate your patience this evening because I know we're also behind in our agenda.
Sure.
So the idea here between having you and soccer join us this evening was just to kind of give your organizations a heads up. This is going to be a difficult ask for the town to fund. And I know lacrosse and soccer had done a tremendous amount of work to even get these fields, created in the first place. But I think it would go a long way if we do come to the point of asking for funding for this, that there is some money that's brought to the table from the user groups. And that's a really difficult, thing to hear because you guys pay taxes and you're paying money to, use the fields right now. So we can either look at this from a couple different angles. One is readjust the permitting fees, knowing that we have to have this large capital outlay in the future, or, work with your groups like yourselves to maybe run fundraising donation campaigns between now and, maybe 3 years from now, with the express idea of putting those monies towards the field replacement. Obviously, we don't expect lacrosse and or soccer to fund this entirely, but in my experience with asking for money for projects like this. Generally, if there's some sort of, contributing fund from the user group, it goes a lot further than in sort of goodwill than if we just come and say empty-handed, give me all the money.
Sure.
So I just wanted to throw that out at you, just get your initial reaction. If you had any questions or thoughts or other things, other ways we could maybe approach this, we're all ears.
Sure. One of the things I think is greatly helpful is to understand what the time frame is. And you're right, it's nice to hear that it's 3 to 5 and not 1 to 2. So I think that gives us more flexibility in trying to plan. Like probably all the youth sports organizations in town, it's not like we have a big reserve, but planning for something that is a couple of years away is something that it's doable as opposed to looking to write a big check right now.
Great. Yeah. Well, that's what we were hoping to hear. I know that, I went and registered my son for soccer the other week, and they actually on their registration form now have a, here you can donate to the field replacement fund
Right.
option. So I don't know if you have the capability to do that. I think we're going to have, more formalized efforts. But if you could talk with your board and maybe come up with a number that you feel comfortable with trying to reach in the next 3 years and say, hey, maybe it's 50,000, I'm just throwing numbers out there, and try to make that happen. I think that would be very helpful for when we come to the capital planning committee and say, hey, we've got this item that we need to address, and we've got community support from the main user groups, and can you make up the difference?
Okay. In fact, we have a board meeting this Thursday. I'll certainly bring back what I've learned tonight. And
Okay.
we won't have an answer for you, but I can give you feedback from what the discussion is like.
Absolutely. Totally understand. And Michelle, I can, if I haven't already shared this estimate with you, and you can get that over to Gary, or just share Gary's email with me and I can send it to him directly, just so that you can share it with your board, Gary. And then we can, continue to have some conversations and see if we can, get ourselves both well positioned to get this funded. Because
Sure.
the way that, just for your own edification, the way that the process should or generally works is we have what's called a capital planning process that typically kicks off late August, early September, which boards, committees, departments all bring forward. Historically, it's been a 5-year capital plan. We may be extending that to even a longer time frame. But within those 5 years, recreation might have 6 or 7 projects. We might have multiple project asks for a given year. We'll be asked to rank those projects in order of importance for a given fiscal year. Those projects will then be reviewed by the capital planning committee against all the other department requests. So we're competing with public safety, police cruisers, fire engines, the schools, and as a result, it's usually very challenging to get funding from capital for recreation. And so what generally happens is the capital planning committee says, hey, we're going to ask recreation related requests to go forward to the community preservation committee. So community preservation, that is a separate committee that has a set of funds that is provided by the 3% surtax that we all pay. And that money is devoted to 4 pillars, or one of its open space, affordable housing, historic preservation, and then recreation. And so, because we've been facing, budget issues, because we've been really trying to address the shortfalls with our recreation infrastructure, we've been going to CPC a lot over the last few years looking for funding. And they have delivered. They've been good supporters. But now going with some of these larger projects, it's going to be tough for them to, I think, stomach more as we go forward. And I said earlier, I'm not even sure this one will qualify. So it's just good for us to be prepared to have as much as we can ready to fund from outside sources, and then potentially capital can find a way to fit something like this in as an item that capital that we bond over the long term. So that might be the way that we play this out. So if capital agrees to that, it then goes through the rest of the budget process, ultimately landing at town meeting, in which we would love to have support from lacrosse enthusiasts and soccer enthusiasts there to get it over the goal line and vote in favor of a request like that at town meeting.
Sure, and that's certainly something we could do is sort of beat the bushes to get people there.
Yep. Awesome. Great. Okay. Well, again, super thankful for your patience, and I apologize again for having this topic come up, and then again, we had to cancel meetings. So thank you for
worries.
being here. Look forward to hearing back from you as a result of your conversations with your board, and we'll keep trying to work in partnership to get this to be a win.
Great. Thanks for the work you do. I can give you my feedback through Michelle.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so much. All right.
Hey,
So-
Chris, Kyle, is this the only quote we have for that replacement?
I believe it is.
Is that because just nobody else responded to the request?
I think it's a timing issue too. I mean, just to try to get the quotes takes time and effort, and you have to go out to the field and
Yeah.
meet people. And, I think Steve has been tremendously busy juggling a lot of stuff. So,
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right, let's move on to our approval of meeting minutes from our October 2nd, 2023 meeting. Does anybody have any changes or issues with the meeting minutes?
I have some changes. They're all minor. I don't know if you want to take the time to go through them or not. There'll be, missing word or misspell word or things like that.
I mean, I think, and I'll leave this up to the commission, but we could probably have you forward those edits to Michelle, and she can get those incorporated. If you feel comfortable, we can just take a motion to approve the minutes as amended. Does that sound okay? If they're that minor, Mike?
Yeah, I'm fine. I saw none that were of any kind of major. It was either missing word or but yeah, nothing would change the content really of the minutes.
Yeah, okay, me neither. Did anybody else find anything that they want to bring up? Michelle, are you okay with taking edits offline and making them as Mike has them, updating as Mike directs?
Yeah, are you gonna send them over to me, Mike?
Yeah, in the next couple of days, I'll send you an edited copy.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay,
Sounds good.
awesome. Do I have a motion to approve the October 2023 meeting minutes as amended?
I can make the motion to approve the meeting minutes as amended.
Thank you, Lauren. Appreciate that. Is there a second?
Second.
Courtney, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. Lauren,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Kathleen,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Courtney,
Aye.
and I'm also an aye. So motion approved and unanimously. Okay, our last item for the agenda is just talk about our next meeting. I guess it would be February. I don't have a calendar in front of me. Anybody? February, the first Monday in February. Does that work for people?
Oh, I'll get calendar here. It's the first Monday, it's
Fifth.
February 4th.
Oh, it's the fifth.
The 5th.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is that does that work for folks? Anybody have any concerns with that? Nope. Okay. Is virtual
I
good?
can't make the 5th.
It's the 4th.
What?
I'm
the 4th.
sorry.
The
It's my
5th.
son's birthday.
It's the 4th.
No, it's the 5th.
The 4th,
It's February 5th.
the
I'm
4th
sorry,
is
right,
a
5th.
Sunday.
My mistake, February 5th, you're right.
I cannot make the 5th. Feel free to go on without me.
Okay. Okay. But everybody else can make it. All right. Okay. We'll shoot for the 5th. And so I just want to double check. Are people comfortable with the virtual format, or we want to meet in person for February? Or people don't care?
Virtual's good.
Okay.
My comment is only with being still winter and never knowing the weather's like, might be better to do one more Zoom meeting at least.
Oh, that was my feeling, Mike. Plus, I'm sick, so I didn't want to share my sickness with people. So I figured this was safer too, because my sons brought home some sort of flu-like something or other over the holidays. It was like, thanks, guys. Okay, well, cool. I'll probably set it up as virtual then, and I think that's it. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. Anybody want to second that?
Second.
All right, let's just go for all. You can show your hands. Show of hands. Aye. All right, great. Hey, thank you all for joining this evening. I appreciate it. Stay healthy, and we'll talk in February. And watch those budget updates. Talk to your friends. Make sure that they stay informed. Okay.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
All right.